Welcome to this special edition of our community calls, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Getting back to the Tuesday and Thursday schedule. Um, this call, as you have all seen from the email invites, is going to be around protest gyms and tough conversations, covering just some of the current events and how they relate to our industry and our businesses. Um, our agenda today, much like always, will be covering some of the functionality of Zoom, some basic ground rules. I'll give a little introduction around the genesis of this call, and then we'll jump into a discussion with two awesome gyms who've agreed to share their stories with us, and give you guys some time at the end for questions and answers as well. Um, so the tools in Zoom, all of you, I'm sure, are familiar with them, but for anyone who's new with us, the three basic functions are chat, question and answer dialog box, and the ability to raise your hand. When you're chatting, there's a little drop down. If you want your chat to be seen by everybody, just make sure that that drop down is selected with all panelists and attendees, and everybody will be able to see your comments. Any questions for our panelists or us, you can throw those into that question and answer box. You'll find all of these down at the center of your screen at the bottom. And once we're in that question and answer period, if you have something that you want to say out loud, just go ahead and raise your hand. I'll unmute you, and we'll give you a chance to say your more detailed statement out loud. Our ground rules for today's call are going to be much like all of our other calls. Please be polite and respectful to the panelists who've agreed to join us, to the CWA staff and myself, and to each other as well. When we do unmute you during the question and answer period, if you can keep any comments to around 2 minutes, that'd be great, just to keep everything moving smoothly and on time. This might be a hard one to keep some political commentary out of, but to the extent possible, let's not go into too many details around, especially, like, say, partisan politics would be a good one that we don't have to touch on for this particular topic on this particular call. And anyone who is abusive or impolite to anyone, we will have to remove you to keep everyone's experience positive. For today's call, we have a kind of extra set of ground rules, and I wanted to set some clear expectations about our abilities. Our panelists, us at the CWA, none of us are experts or teachers, and we're not necessarily going to be able to give you answers and the right thing to do. This is really a dialogue and sharing of ideas. And most of us are learning. Most of you guys on the call, most of us at the CWA and on the panel, speaking for them, we're always learning. And this is an opportunity to learn together and from each other. It's entirely possible. Mistakes might be made, misstatements might be made. Definitely trying my hardest, and I imagine everyone's trying their hardest not to make those mistakes or misstatements or anything. If I make a misstatement, do feel free to call me out real time in it or contact me afterwards, but please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. And to end on a positive note, I think there's an expectation around growth from this call, growth of awareness, growth of shared experience, and then hopefully some growth for just the whole industry as a whole, and hopefully the whole world as a whole as well. Recently I had an amazing person ask me just a really simple question, why now? Which I'm sure there's probably a number of people on this call with that same question in their head. Some of you guys, might have been exploring your company's relationship with justice issues for years now, and working actively in this space, either as an individual employee, consultant, or volunteer. And some of you guys on the call might just be thinking seriously about these issues for the first time. I'm assuming that everyone who joined us today feels that this is an appropriate and a needed area of improvement in our industry. If you don't agree with that, let's keep that as a separate discussion. Please don't throw anything into the chat about that, and just to not derail the conversation at hand, which is a very specific one. If you do have those concerns, I would definitely invite you to reach out to me directly, Garnet at climbingwallindustry.org, or even direct phone call, 720-534-2120. I'd be happy to have that conversation with you and hear your opinions. For On the CWA's side of things, for that why now question, when we decided to make a statement online about our stance on racial justice issues and what I've been calling in my own head anyway, a renewed national conversation, I didn't want that to be the end of the discussion. I didn't want just a black box and nothing, and then next week we go back to normal. It's just not enough. The staff here at the CWA is awesome, and they really stepped up last week, and they took our social media platform and used that as an opportunity to bring attention to messages that were being put out by those individuals and organizations in the climbing and outdoor community who have been laboring in this arena for a long time, and many of you are familiar with some of those individuals, hopefully already. Um, but even that, in a lot of ways, isn't enough, and we're going to continue working towards this. It, Likewise, in a number of individual conversations I've had over the last couple weeks or week and a half, I've heard our social media actions described as a pivot. And in some ways, I don't think that's exactly right. Again, I just want to call out the staff here is awesome. The staff who's worked here in years past are awesome, and they've brought a focus to fostering content that supports underrepresented communities at our summit and in our blog. Or whether that's enough, that's a great question, and one that I'd be happy to explore as well. But there has been an effort there, and I didn't feel that this was so much as a pivot, but an acceleration or an amplification of some of that work. And I felt pretty comfortable making those next steps, and I think the staff here did as well. And that content, doesn't just support those communities. We also want that content to support the gyms that are working to improve their relationships with those communities and navigating some of these tough conversations as well. And again, this isn't to say that the CWA is a stellar example of how to get all of this right. We are aware of who we are, how we might be perceived, and we're aware at least of some of the things that we need to improve ourselves. And we have our own internal dialogue that we've been undergoing and that will continue, and our own organizational navel to gaze at. We'll definitely be talking about that later, and it's not something that's going to die. On this call in particular, we'll be hearing from two gyms who have had direct interactions with recent protests and have made some material commitments to their local communities and some larger efforts as well. They're going to also share their experiences with their social media communications and their community's response to any of the messages they put out. The goal of this call, right, is not to provide a roadmap or framework or answers about how to handle these tough conversations, but rather to show that we're all susceptible to making mistakes, that it's possible to still take action and make a positive contribution while making those mistakes, and that also it's important that as the leaders of our organizations, we recognize that we're not going to make these positive steps forward that we want to take unless we're willing to take those ourselves personally and sincerely. Those steps can't be relegated or compartmentalized to smaller parts of our organizations. For them to actually take effect and be meaningful, it has to start with us as individuals. What this call really hopefully accomplishes is to hold us at the CWA accountable to our statements of solidarity, and also encourage you guys to also stand behind any posts or commitments you might have made over the last couple weeks, and not to let this moment die down, and to really harness it as a bit of momentum for positive change. And it's important to recognize it's also not really even though this is a particular moment, it's one in a long series of moments where we've gone through similar situations in our country. In the Back to 1859, 1919, like 1963 through 68, 1992, then recently 2014 maybe to 2016, whole series of events. This isn't a new thing. This isn't a new issue, and it's something that hopefully can be carried forward, and we can engender some change, at least in our small corner of the world. It's a lot for me, and sorry for that, but I just wanted to let you guys know where this call was coming from and where I hope it goes. I'm going to get over to our panelists right now. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Both of these gyms are really interesting. They're nonprofits, and they have their own missions and work that they do. So I think it's going to be better to let them speak about that. So I'll start with Memphis Rocks. Why don't you guys take over and introduce yourself?
Malik, you want to go first?
No, I'll let you go, John.
All right. Hey, my name's John Hawk. I'm the director of operations here at Memphis Rocks. Been here since the construction phase, and love every second of it. We're doing something completely different. And I've been working in the industry about 16 years now, and I'm just happy to see how things are changing, and we're getting more diverse and socially conscious. And I'm a little shy, so sorry about that. Malik, it's your turn.
Okay, sorry about that. But hey, everybody, my name is Malik the Martian, and I am the resident photographer and social media coordinator for Memphis Rocks. I came into Memphis Rocks because I'm a photojournalist for the city, and I'm from South Memphis, born and raised. What's up, Bethany? Born and raised South Memphis. Memphis Rocks was built in my neighborhood, and so a lot of times, I'm a first-generation college student. A lot of times people in my position, they go to college, get their degree, their resources, and leave and don't come back. I did the opposite. I went, got my degree and resources, and came home to give. And when I heard about Memphis Rocks opening in my neighborhood, I looked at it as another way to give back. I didn't know the big impacts we were going to have, but everything about the gym is atypical in a good way. Everything about the gym is counter normal, you know, in a good way. We give back in a lot of ways, and our community is always the center of whatever we're trying to do. So when COVID first struck and the doors were closed, it wasn't like, oh my God, what are we going to do for the lost wages? It was more so, what are we going to do about the kids who come here after school and get food? What are we going to do about the people who use this as a safe haven? How can we still safely, socially distant serve the community? And that's all we've been doing, is trying to evolve. And like, you know, just from a corporate standpoint, like supporting your employees and understanding your employees. Like with Memphis Rocks, I'm a photojournalist. So when the protests and the riots broke out, I disappeared for like 2 weeks. And they know because I'm out in the field and they're covering it, but they stand behind me, and it's like, you know, hey, don't worry about, you know, coming up here today for lunch. Cover the protest tonight. That's what we want you to do. And like for an organization to stand by financially behind, like that's one thing that right now it's going to be a lot of black squares and BLM posts, but it's the action behind it. And I mean, like even on an individual basis, Memphis Rock standing behind me so I can comfortably focus and still go out and do my job, you know, multiple jobs. It means the world. And I think like, you know, putting your money where your mouth is and backing up people when they need it the most is like what's really needed with this diversity movement that we're pushing in the outdoor industry. North Face, they contacted me. I'm a protester. I'm a photojournalist on the ground, and they gave me some gear to help cover the protest. They're not only posting Black Lives Matter, but they're supporting a Black life on the ground trying to matter. So I think that's something important that we should all try to do. Moving forward with anything we do is like, you know, make the post, take a stance, but also make sure that there's some action behind it that's like impacting a minority or a group of minority, or, you know, like the actual groups that like we're protesting about. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Malik. And yeah, I'll let you talk a little bit about Nosotros and what you guys are all about, Peter.
Thank you. John and Malik, those are great testimonials. We're also countercultural as well. Nosotros Rock Climbing Gym is a nonprofit. John, I think you said you had maybe 17 years in the industry. I have as much experience as we've been open. I only climbed 3 times before we opened the gym. I fell in love with climbing at a bachelor party. And usually in sports, if you're bad, nobody talks to you. I found in climbing, if you're bad, people talk to you more. And so that's what really turned the light bulb on for me. Everybody who read my business plan saw that it was a nonprofit because we really put people profit. Some things that we've done, we've given a car away. We have given 100 date nights to couples in the greater Cleveland area. We give to students in poverty and families with cancer. And so that's what I love about our gym too. If you boil it all down, we've all started our own gyms, maybe to make money, or maybe to have fun, or maybe to give an excuse to work out. Maybe you don't like the office setting. I feel that about all those reasons as well. But let me share my screen. That'd be helpful. But we really want to help people. And so, Malik, you were talking about what you've done during COVID. We obviously had to close, but we have a portable climbing wall that we allowed our members to keep climbing. We called our members on the phone during COVID. We did giveaways, and so we tried to be a presence as well, because we really found a lot of success with 3 different types of people: people with addiction, depression, and anxiety. Those three types of people are really taking root in our gym. And so that's what we were thinking about most. How are we going to be with them during this time? So that's a little bit about who I am and what Nosotros has become.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to start this off going back to you guys at Memphis Rocks, and get you to talk a little bit about, and you touched on it briefly, but maybe a little bit more about some of the things that you've been doing to engage with your local protests and how your gym's been impacted by those. It might also be great to touch on some of the work that you did while you were closed down just during the COVID crisis with food support and the like.
Okay. I can screen share. I have a 2-minute video that can show what we were doing during the COVID starting off. While I'm pulling that up, the thing we've been doing to support protests right now, because it was like, how can we help? We have already partnered with a local grocer, Palazola, for like fresh food boxes with fresh vegetables and fruits and water. So basically we've started donating those staples to the protesters, where we have water, hand sanitizer, masks, first aid, sack lunches, and fruits and vegetables, fruit, bananas and apples. So at the beginning of the protest, we just bring it there. People pick from it, and just throughout the night or throughout the day, they have that nutritional support, because that's just as important, like making sure that everybody gets home safe and healthy, and just making that happen and available is what we're doing. But I'm about to screen share. Okay. It says something about access. Hold on. Okay, snap. It's trying to make me like close out Zoom and do something. So I apologize for that. But essentially, every day we gave out 250 to 300 sack lunches from 11 to 2. Every day we were able to pass out every lunch. We never really had any leftovers. On certain days, we partnered with the local restaurants. There was a local barbecue shop that we had barbecue sandwiches one day. We had chicken wings another day. We had pizza another day. That just came through partnerships and looking for people who are looking to, because right now everybody's asking, what can we do? And if you make those connections, you'll find that there are people who have resources that can be given out. Essentially, we're not like creating anything. We're just funneling resources through us and finding those where you can come to Memphis Rocks to get we built hygiene kits. We have a period program where women can get, things needed for hygiene, feminine products, soap, toothbrushes. You can also get a sack lunch. And we started making hand sanitizer because when COVID first hit, there was a huge shortage on any type of cleaning utensils. And we wanted to make sure that the people in our community who were tending to be hit hardest by COVID were the ones who were getting the most like resources or like something there is an epicenter for those individuals, because a lot of time in those neighborhoods there are food deserts and like supply deserts where you have to go outside of your neighborhood to get these things. So being able to have a epicenter in the neighborhood where people can go get these things was like a huge game changer, because you know you have to factor in environmental racism and like transportational racism, etc., and the list goes on. So just trying to lessen those things as much as possible and make as much available at once at one location for the neighborhood is what we're trying.
Hey, Malik, did you see the message that Laura sent about the Giving Tuesday video? Is that what you were going to put up?
Did you want to throw that up, Laura, if you have access to it? Cool.
Yeah, I am pulling it up right now, so just give me 1 second.
Thank you, Lauren, with the technical skills. I do not know Zoom as good as I thought I did.
Okay, I am sharing now.
I think all of you know, I didn't want to start a rock climbing gym. I wanted to start a revolution. It happens to show up through a rock climbing gym. Memphis Rocks, our philosophy is, and has been that predated COVID, is we're all inherently in this together.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like I would assume you guys are still doing those efforts. Just to
Yeah,
help
we're going to
address the
continue.
situation.
We're going to continue those efforts too, because we are planning on reopening next week. But there's no reason to stop. I mean, I think people in this neighborhood are still going to be financially affected for a while. So as long as we can provide, we're going to do that.
Yeah. When you started to divert some of those resources to the protests, how did you go about discussing that internally as a staff or as an organization? Was there any, was everyone just fully 100% on board, or was there some discussions about?
I don't even think it was a discussion. It was, let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I got on Zoom one day and just flipped out. They're like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm not okay." And everybody wanted to help. It was never any type of pushback. Like out of all the organizations I could be working for, like this one is the most like supportive and caring. Like our nonprofit arm of it is called One Family, and I truly believe like how everyone looks at it, like, John is like an older, stern uncle, So everybody, it wasn't a very bad discussion. People asked me what did I needed, and then they came to it. Even if like people started trying to accompany me through protests and things of that nature. So like, because they were worried about me being out there by myself, and like they're like, "We in shape, we can get on a bike with you," and just that type of support and solidarity, standing in solidarity, basically, is what we all came to the conclusion on.
Yeah. And what did your public-facing messaging end up looking like around that protest support? You had a really well-written, I think, statement around the whole situation. Were there other messaging on top of that, or has that been your?
No, we released that message, but we've really been trying to use our social media as a call to action for donating items, because a lot of our members have been donating items to give to the protesters as well. It's not just us like purchasing or working on partnerships. So yeah, we've only released that one big statement, and I appreciate you liking it. We did get some pushback from a national conservative podcast guy named Ben Shapiro, and unfortunately, we've been receiving some pretty nasty emails and things like that from people who have never been to this gym or understand our mission or anything. But we're not letting that discourage us. We're just fighting harder now, and all we're saying is, well, shit, we made it. We got their attention. Cool, let's keep going. So I urge everybody to do the same thing. Speak the truth. Climbing's about love and caring and mentorship and helping each other. So and overcoming obstacles, and this is an obstacle, and let's just climb over it and do it.
Yeah. I'll assume likewise that you guys didn't have any hesitation or even question whether you were going to release a statement like that. But what did the internal process, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe there was some discussion, but what did that internal process look like in terms of crafting the message? Did you have one person write it and a committee review it, or was it a whole collective process?
I had my coworker Josh. He kind of asked me a couple questions about how I was feeling about the protests and the things that I've seen firsthand, and we handed it over to our founder Tom Shadyac, and then he crafted the statement that you read. But we had a meeting amongst our executive staff, and he read it to us, and then we critiqued it, and he made some changes, and then it went to the final. But stuff like that, our founder is very vocal and very aware and wants to respect people from that community opinion. So anytime we do make a statement like that, he makes it sure to run it by me or a couple of my other executive staff members who are Black, just to get our feedback and opinion, because I mean it is a sensitive climate, and sometimes people do not mean harm by what they say. But it's always good to double check with a person of color on your team, so there isn't any just tone deaf by accident statements, because we try to not do that. We're all trying to move forward. So.
And I saw somebody asked for a link to the statement. I'm not technologically advanced enough to do that, but it's on our Facebook page.
I'll post the Instagram link in the comments in a second.
Cool,
Okay.
thanks. Yeah, and just to dive into the response to your message a little bit, aside from someone that you already mentioned, what was your real direct community and the people who matter? What was their response? Did you have any blowback at all? Any misstatements that people identified?
I have not seen any.
Awesome.
It's been support from our local community and members. The negative comments that come in are all from out of state, so we don't really care.
Yeah.
Any comments that you do get on social media, because someone asked, how can gyms address it via social media? I would just say, if you are actually working with minorities and Black people are a part of your core and staff, saying Black Lives Matter, I know it's gonna be some pushback, and I hate that it is, but it meant the world to me that when the brands that I work with said it. It means the world to me when the gym I work for says it, because it's a reaffirming feeling for myself. And I can't speak for every Black person, but it did make me feel good. And I would just say, go bold, and in the comments, just don't feed the trolls, Like John said, a lot of those people with the most negativity never been to our gym, probably don't plan on visiting anytime soon now because we did this. The people who are going to support you are going to support you. And you never know. Instead of worrying about losing people, I was more worried about the people we're going to win over for taking a stance that's when we were telling our kids what happened in 2020 with all the murder hornets, COVID and everything else, I want them to say that I took a stand for something that was right before I was coerced to do it. You want to be ahead of the curve with this type of stuff. You don't want to be oh, now Black Lives Matter, say it because you mean it, especially if there's Black people a part of your staff and core part of your group.
Yeah, thanks for that. Might be too early to know, but like, what are some of your guys' next steps? Anything that you're planning on beyond beyond what you're continuing what you're currently doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
real
mean,
time,
right now
right?
our focus is supporting Malik and the movement, and trying to get reopened next week with a bunch of new policies. You know, I think
Yeah.
there's still a lot of people that are forgetting that we are in a pandemic, so we got to protect ourselves and our community. So we're just getting all that straight right now and doing some retraining.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I was going to flip over to Nosotros and yeah, listen to a little bit about your experience, Peter. Did you say you had a screen share you wanted to do?
Sure. Yeah.
And let us know if you
I
need
think I
help
want to
doing
say
that.
Memphis rocks. You guys are next level. I look up to you guys. You guys handled that great. Well done.
Thank you.
Can you guys see that?
Just
Can you
coming
guys
up.
see my screen?
We gotcha. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so our story was downtown Cleveland. There was protests happening a couple Saturdays ago, and I got a call from our landlord saying that the establishment to the right of you got their windows broken, and the establishment to the left of you got their windows broken. And he said, "I don't know about you guys." So I went downtown, and as a result of the protests, we had about 3 windows broken, and I just took pictures for insurance because I know that they wanted to see that we incurred damage to get it fixed. And so the following Monday, I wrote this post talking about basically an attempt to take our stance. And so it said, was Floyd's asphyxiation wrong? Absolutely. Does racial injustice need to suffocate? Undeniably, will broken windows result in change? Hopefully, should Nosotros try to help immediately? And so we weren't condoning destruction, but we were trying to put our best spin on what happened. And so I basically took this picture that I got for the insurance company. I put it on a shirt, and I put the small tag, "Rocks are revolutionary." And the idea behind it is that rocks have the power to change people's addictions in a gym. Rocks have the power to maybe to change the future as well. Like in a protest, it hopefully could open people's eyes, can wake up a nation. So I know it was bold, and we got probably 95% good feedback, 5% we got hit hard. And you're welcome to check those out. So that happened. I posted that on Monday, and then we did the Black Square on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday. So I basically copy and pasted all of the negative comments that we got, and I put it in just in a Microsoft Word document, and I literally just addressed each one in our Wednesday post. And so, like, in the Wednesday post, it's tough because whenever you get backlash, I'll talk for myself. I want to get emotional, and I just want to say, like, guys, we're trying. We're trying. Whenever a lot of other establishments are silent, we're trying. And it's like, why would you publicly criticize us whenever we're at least giving it a shot? It's like it's discouraging, and it's hard to try again if we get so much heat. But then as I was just kind of polishing our follow-up to Monday's post, I'm like, that's really no way to respond. Obviously, the best way is just as professional as possible. And so I tried to take out all the emotion. And so I basically just started in Wednesday's message saying, we appreciate the range of responses that we received for the fundraiser. So we ended up selling shirts and giving money to the George Floyd Memorial Fund. And then the second point is that we wanted to show that we listen, because a lot of the situation that we find ourselves in is about lack of listening. So we said, we know listening stunts growth, so we want to address each of your questions specifically, and I get into that. Thirdly, I said, we're not a PR agency, we're a rock gym. So we don't have a social media director. We don't have a director of operations. We're pretty small, and so I'm kind of the guy doing all of it. And so I said, listen, our explanations won't be excellent. If you have questions, and you will have questions, I would love to take you out for lunch. We can have a masked discussion. I'd love to hear your point of view. So I just threw it out there. It's like, it's hard to go back and forth through text. You miss tone, you miss expression. Easy, you can miscommunicate. I want to take you out. And then we ended up commissioning a second t-shirt design because I wanted to show that we listen. And in retrospect, I want to go on the record and saying, I think that the first design was off. I didn't attend the Cleveland protests. If I did, it was actually my anniversary. But if I did, I would have got a much better picture to encapsulate the day, to show the effort. But I wasn't there. I just went to the aftermath. I took a picture of our window, put on a t-shirt to hopefully do something and do our part. And I think, again, it was probably a bad call, because at large, if I were to summarize most of the feedback that we got, we heard that picture effort.
Sorry, do you mind repeating that, Peter? You just broke up a little bit.
Glass being broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final, I again said that I think the first picture was off, that this is not about glass being broken, that we recognize a bigger victim here. And so let's see here. Yeah, and so after my post, I basically literally went through every critique that we heard in the first one, and we just addressed it head on, explained the sensitivity of this shirt. Our intention behind this fundraiser is to be sensitive, show understanding, and give money. Again, put our money where our mouth was. Explain why the first shirt had a photo of your business. And this is something that somebody had to literally wake me up. Like an advertisement. And I was wrong about that. They're completely right. And I said, honestly, the picture was for insurance, but we're going to make a second design. Are you bragging about being a part of this movement? We definitely would have rather not got our windows broken. It cost money, but our harm comes nowhere close to George Floyd's. We were merely faced with three options: to complain, to stay silent, or to do our best to turn this positive. Why don't you say anything about the people involved? We said there's a lot of other platforms that can talk about that. We just showed a picture of how it related to us. We had on why you make this about rock climbing. We just said rock climbing. We know that there's a ton of other shirts that you get. This one is coming from with climbing subtlety, what rocks can do in a gym and what rocks can do outside of a gym. They asked us to change the picture. We did. The second picture was this. So we didn't include anything with our logo, and we addressed the subject matter more clearly. And so, I mean, my story is one of mistake. I think we probably made, we did our best with our time, talent, and resources. I mean, but I think if you guys, for all of those that are listening, that if you maybe have taken a stance and you don't, maybe you got a ton of to let me try. I'm trying to do a couple things here. I'm trying back to showing myself. I'll just sorry guys, I'm trying to go back to can you see me? Or
I can't. You're breaking up a little bit, so I'm actually just gonna end your screen share. Sorry about that, just to kind of keep the bandwidth
yeah.
going. And
Okay.
yeah,
So,
and then
so then I'll say my final point.
yeah,
So for all of you who are listening, you may be in either one or two situations. Either you said something online and got backlash, or you haven't said anything at all because maybe the backlash seems scary. I love what Malik said, how it's so much more important to take a stance rather than not. And so we went for it last Monday. It wasn't perfect. Got a ton of, well, not a ton. Got any backlash is scary. And so my best advice, the second post, you can check us out. The second post was received incredibly well. We didn't get any bad criticisms, which is good. And those second shirts sold, and we were able to give money. But I've been looking at how some gyms have been handling it, and some gyms have been defensive, and they're getting crucified. And some gyms have been avoiding it and maybe sidestepping questions. And commentators are saying like, whatever happened to this person that you haven't yet answered? And it's like, with this, as Malik said, it is dicey. It's a sensitive climate. I think it's helped that just addressing the question straight on. We did have kind of the chief critic ended up DMing us and apologizing, and I'm like, thank you. You kind of did the opposite. We were hoping that you're supposed to praise publicly and criticize privately. You criticize publicly and praise privately, so that's rough. But yeah, it's that's kind of what we've done. So we're doing the shirts effort, and then finally, just yesterday we posted something that said, we love all of the talk. We love everything that's being shared. However, we're itching to take action. We want to do something about this. We want to do more. And so we said, are you a thinker? Do you have ideas and diversity initiatives? Let's hear your ideas. Or are you a doer? Do you want to put programs in place to promote inclusion? Let's go. And so we're hosting a thinkers meeting next Monday. And so we have about 10 people coming and counting, who are coming to the gym outside in the fresh air. And we're literally just going to brainstorm ideas, put them on a whiteboard, and decide on one to pursue. So that's step one. Step two is we're going to post about our idea online to get other people buy-in. Step three, we're going to have a doers meeting where we're going to come up with steps on how to achieve that idea. And then step four, we're going to post about our idea that we've chosen to get people's involvement. Because we want to put something into practice. We want to do something. So those are kind of the two efforts that we've done. We took a stand. We publicly apologized. We gave money, and now we're trying to like actually implement initiatives where it could just be in the fabric of our gym.
awesome. Yeah, thanks, Peter. And another hard question, which you might not have fully wrestled with yet, but what do you see as some possible next steps?
Yeah, so the next steps is this meeting on Monday, the thinkers meeting on Monday. Again, we're going to think of ideas about what our gym can do to be more diverse and to help stop racism.
Yeah.
Because again, we already saw where this gets whenever it's just my brainchild. I'm gonna make a mistake by myself. So it's like it's a community effort. We all know rock gyms are based on community, so hopefully we're gonna make a community decision, and that'll be on Monday.
Awesome. Well, I'll leave some time here. We're getting close to the end, and maybe if we go over a little bit, that'll be okay for questions and answers. The first question that we have here in our question and answer tool is around some guidance or experience on the current atmosphere and how gyms can address it via social media. Again, this call, like, none of us are experts or teachers. Might be great ways to might be great resources and individuals you could reach out to have that conversation. But I think Malik actually had like the most apt point around that earlier. Start within, talk with your team, talk with your staff, talk with your community. I don't know if you guys would have anything to add to that. Search for guidance and experience on the current atmosphere.
To John's question, about trying to walk the fine line. So when I talk about policing, or like right now, the big push is defund the police. I make it clear that I'm not applying this on an individual basis. When I stand against the police, it's not against an individual. It is against the institution, which is policing. It is the institution which allows officers who do break the law or commit acts to not face the consequences. And I try to make that as clear as possible, that it's not against you, it's against the system. Like I tell officers when I'm on the front lines at protests, like, I appreciate you. I understand what you're doing, but I also, just as a person on the front lines, I also understand that can be flipped in a switch. But I also just extend that grace and just hope it's returned. But I try to never paint a person. I don't try to use a broad brush or broad stroke and paint everybody as bad. I believe it's on an individual basis. And I think making that distinction in whatever statement you make, I mean, they're going to feel some type of way, because it's like a us versus them mentality. Hence the thin blue line, or blue lives matter, which technically doesn't exist. It's only like a thing that is made in opposition to a group that is like standing together. So this group stand together. And so there will be a pushback, but also just make sure there's room for nuance and conversation. I'd never try to act like that this is an end all be all. I try to hear their side of the story too, because there is shades of gray, 50 shades for a reason. So I would encourage the nuance and not be scared of these conversations, most importantly. Because we still have cops that we come by our gym and feed. Our community police, the ones like the cops who patrol our neighborhood, I know them by name. And, I don't want anything to happen to them. But they also understand that there's an institution that lets certain things slide that shouldn't be. And that all comes from having an adult discussion with like feelings removed, and not the need to be right or wrong, Yeah.
Thanks for that, Malik. Let's see, our next question here. How will y'all be continuing your social media engagement on these topics in the upcoming months? Are you going to still post about these things in November, presuming that the actions being brainstormed are still happening behind the scenes? Let any of you guys jump in there, and then at the end I'll talk about the CWA maybe.
I mean, I think we're going to continue as long as we can, and we've been doing it for 2.5 years. I mean, it's not always been a social justice stance, but it's showing people what we're doing to help this community.
That's awesome. Yeah, us too. I mean, giving money is great, but we're about relationships. We want to do something deeper, and so that's hopefully we're going to come up with a plan. And Garnett, I can share it with you, but I would encourage you guys. It's hard to post about something, but I think it'd be cool as a gym to come together and saying, we're doing a thinkers meeting. What can our gym do? I don't see how anybody can push back against that. I mean, what follower of you would not like that idea? So, with reconcile this, and we're going to be posting the whole time.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'd definitely echo both those comments from the CWA's perspective. You know, as I mentioned in my overly long preamble, you know, it is an area that the CWA has been providing some content and support in over the last few years anyway. And it's something I see us continuing to do, and hopefully helping you guys get the tools that you need to do some of this in your own gyms where you feel it's applicable to do so for your communities. Let's see, our next question here. Have you guys made any adjustments or considered making any adjustments in relation to gym policies and practices as a result of your commitment to this movement? Probably not from Memphis Rock, since you've been in this space so actively, but
Yeah, I mean,
I'll throw it out there
like
anyway.
70% of our guests are people of color. I mean, this is just every day for us.
Yeah. And how about for you, Peter?
No, if somebody has an idea, let me know. I mean, we're not a beautiful gym. That's for sure. If you see pictures, we lack beauty. But where we lack in beauty, we try to make up for in personality. It's literally the only sustaining feature that we have. So again, we kind of live by the golden rule: treat others the way you'd like to be treated. So, but we're not diverse. I mean, I just talked to, I went to our downtown location and talked to a guy, and I'm like, how do we be more diverse? How do we do it? And he said, well, you can market to places that are diverse. And it's like, we just market to 10-mile radiuses around our gym. We don't market by race, we market by region. So it's like, he had an idea. We had the portable wall. We could take the portable wall to different cities. And that's not a bad idea. We can do that. That'd be cool. I really like the idea of like getting families in, because that kind of does a couple things. It could make us more diverse. It could promote inclusion, and it can also keep families together. So,
and Peter, one other thing you can do, man, you know, once a week, offer a field trip to one of the underserved schools in the area. Get the kids in there, and then that'll bring their families in there.
Love it. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks for that, John. And maybe we'll just do this one last question, which is a doozy, and then we're getting close to the end of the hour, so I'll let you guys all get on with your day. So, you know, how, and feel free not to answer this question, because it's, as I mentioned earlier in our expectations, none of us are experts or teachers really. But, you know, how do we amplify Black voices and voices of any underrepresented community in our industry without making them feel tokenized or opening ourselves for the scrutiny or accusation of tokenizing people? I don't know if that's something that you've talked about internally and figured any good way around. Yeah.
I mean, I can answer that. I'm somewhat of an expert in being Black.
Okay. Yeah.
But so with me, like there could be a crowd of people who'd be like, they only got Malik on this call because he Black. You know what I'm saying? I've only been climbing 2 years. When I was regularly before quarantine, maybe a 5'10" on a good day. You know what I'm saying? But I have a role to play in this organization, you know, and that's why I started working there, was to represent my neighborhood through the organization and have some type of input on what they were doing. Was one of the main reasons why I worked there. Within that, like I started at the front desk and worked my way up, but it was always like a respect that I felt the whole way. And it's like, it's never like, oh, we got a call with the CWA. We need you to be on there for our Black voice. It's like, yo, there's a certain topics that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel that you're best versed. And it's out of a respect. I mean, like, I was a debater in college, so I can cover all these, you know, topics and everything and not be combative. I want to have a discussion. I want to have some nuance. But just make sure that you're not actually tokenizing people. Like, if you only, hey, Black person, do this. Yeah, you're tokenizing them. But like, I'm a constant voice in my organization. It's not too many things that even our founder won't call me personally and be like, what do you think about this? So it's just always making me feel respected and not just calling me out or like throwing like a Pokeball of Black people, like, get them, Black man. And I jump out like, hey, let me represent you now. And then I go back in. I'm always in the forefront. My opinion and feelings are always respected. And they just show that through multiple ways through the organization. And as far as like the blowback, because there's also sometimes people who like usually aren't in your community or a part of what you got going, and they will harshly critique what you have. But I mean, if your heart is pure, you can't be too much worried about like the naysayers, because there's always going to be some type of pushback, some type of negativity. But as long as you know in your heart that like you were trying to do the right thing by asking this person to participate and you're not trying to exploit them, then I wouldn't be too much worried about that. And also have people who will be able to, like, if they are representing you, make sure that they have an understanding between you and them. Because whereas, like, I'm not saying like defend rocks, like that's what I'm here to do, but I have, you know, enough understanding that I can explain that I don't feel used. And I think like as me being the person, if I say I don't feel used and they support me and they respect me, I think anybody else who's not in the organization should respect that.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And I, from the CWA's perspective, might like decline to answer that for the moment, just because I think that's part of like what we're working on internally, which is a good segue to kind of the end of this call, since we're getting close, like I said, to the end of the hour. Just wanted to let you guys know some of the things that we're doing internally. The staff here is help or taking the lead really in crafting this pretty good action plan for what we're going to be doing internally. It's a pretty new team here and new relationships with people at the CWA. So a lot of this stuff is happening real time, but we're working on kind of a first phase of our own internal action plan for how we're going to be looking at ourselves and what we can do better. And we're going to try to make all of this stuff public as well, so that you guys know what's going on. I will mention just another webinar on Tuesday, back to just the general gym operations support. We'll be covering the what of virtual events with a couple great facilitators. So hopefully you join us for that. We'll be looking at future conversations like this as well, with dates to be determined as we go through this whole process. So stay tuned for that as well. And then, you know, just to reiterate from the beginning of this call, you guys can always reach out to us directly with any comments, concerns, criticisms, anything. Criticisms, maybe direct them towards me rather than the staff. I'm happy to take those. But you know, always just reach out to us, let us know what's going on in your gyms, and we'll see where all of this goes. I hope it just, you know, back to those expectations. One of my big expectations is growth, and that this conversation isn't something that dies. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of our panelists here. It took a lot of courage to, you know, to stand up and have your faces on video in front of this crowd. Yeah, big applause to you. I'm sure all of our viewers here are incredibly grateful as well. So with that, I'll let everyone go, and we'll see you on our next call, and we'll continue this conversation. Have a great day, everyone.